Hi, so for this webinar I wanted to talk about a really important topic, which is feedback, but with a twist. I wanted to talk about the dark side of feedback. When I am academic director and standing up in front of a course, a group of people who are here to develop themselves, when I'm in front of a team of executives or I'm doing a one-to-one with one of my clients around the globe, something that keeps coming up time and time again is I gave them feedback, I got feedback, can I have feedback? And what's really important for us to do as coaches is to, or as managers or as friends, is to dig a bit deeper behind that feedback and see exactly what the perspective of the feedback is. So what I've been hearing a lot over the last year, especially in the corporate space with managers and leaders, is a throwaway comment such as, oh no, I gave him feedback, or I gave her feedback, or I gave my team feedback, or I gave that function feedback. And you're thinking, okay, that's great. What was your intention behind that feedback? Oh, to help them grow, to help them develop, to help them move on, to help them progress, because I'm helping them as a human to grow and expand their potential by giving them feedback. And the dark side of feedback, the twist that we want to consider, is when feedback is used to make a problem bigger and not to help the human solve it. So let me explain that a little bit. Sometimes feedback is used in performance reviews, it's used in career conversations, it's used in team meetings to review a certain evaluation point, or it's even just given back to someone who, unsolicited sometimes, that has made an impact on you. But it is very impactful, no matter what the intention was or how it was delivered or who it was delivered by. So if we are creating an impact on someone that is casting a shadow on their potential or casting a shadow on their performance or their ability to grow, that is the dark side of feedback. The challenge for us is to consider the person who's giving the feedback will walk away thinking, I did a really good thing there, I gave them feedback, and so I'm helping them grow, and so I've pointed at exactly what they need to do differently. But what they haven't considered in that setting is the human. They haven't considered the people science. The science of the problem has been expanded and amplified. So this is how we need to schedule this differently. This is how we need to timeline it differently. And it's a very head approach to the feed that they're being given. Well, what's been forgotten is the heart of the human, the impact. Maybe having this problem amplified has just overwhelmed them, has just created a deeper self-doubt set of self-talk around who they are and whether they're able to do it or not. So the person who's giving the feedback will feel they really fulfilled the brief to help them learn and grow, but the person who's walking away may be smaller in their power, maybe further away from engagement, and maybe actually stepping away from the activity altogether. So the fact that you give feedback is great. But if you do not consider the landing space and not get an understanding of how that feed has actually either spread their potential into the future, or maybe it's taken the power away at all you have done is pointed out a problem and amplified it. So the dark side of feedback, which happens as a pattern, and it's a skill that seems to have been picked up and used as a tool, certainly in the workplace, as something managers should do, give frequent feedback. It helps your employees, it helps your staff, it helps your team grow. That skill has lost the art form of the human at the center of it. And it has become logical and ordered and process driven and very technical. And you can point to the details and the data and evidence-based. It has forgotten the human who's hearing the feedback. It's forgotten the impact that this feedback's really having on them when they walk away from you. So what we want to be considering is the social brains that are having that conversation. We want to understand how your feedback has created a new regulation of the system in that other human. So what I mean by that, is it regulating them to be more powerful towards meeting the activity, or is it regulating them to take their power away and drain their potential from ever meeting that activity? And how you'll notice that if you're awake and conscious when you're giving feedback is you'll notice the other person going, oh yeah, I got it. No, I totally understand. No, I'm on it now. Thank you so much for that feedback. And then they shuffle away. People who are really receiving feedback well are asking questions. Wait now, hang on a minute. How does that actually look? How will I do that? How will you support me in this? What support can I have in this? How will we measure that? So when we are considering feedback, I would advise, first of all, consider the human who feed is going to be sticking to and sticking on. And check in that they are able to not just understand the feedback, but they're ready for it, and that they haven't got lost in translation the impact piece, because you want the impact of the feed to help them grow and expand their potential and have more success. We don't want the impact to make them smaller and less and disengaged. So you have to consider the human that is receiving the feedback, as well as the data and the evidence and how you do it. So it's a balancing act. So when you're thinking, if you're in an opportunity to give someone in the future, maybe this week or next week, some feedback, or even yourself, I'd like you to consider the balance of the head and the heart in this feedback. And remember, there's a human impact. No matter how clearly drawn out or how beautiful your design plans are, there's a human that's going to be impacted by this. And if you do not consider how they're going to be impacted, you are just laying on more work, amplifying the problem without solving and supporting the human that will ultimately be meeting that activity and solving that problem for themselves. So I want you to be considering feedback with a new view. I want you to evolve your skill and start with the human in mind. There's an art and a science and an art in feedback. The art is the human that's delivering it. The science is the regulation of what happens with the impact. And the other art is the human who's receiving it. So you need to consider the whole formula in this place to really get the full power and impact of honest, clear, growth-enabling feedback. Hope you've enjoyed this short webinar. Talk to you soon.